Sentai Podcast.
Welcome to the Super Sentai Podcast. This is a weekly episodic tokusatsu-related podcast where we're talking about fights and tights. I'm Pat.
And I'm Grant.
And I'm Sarah. Although you guys probably know me better as a different name.
Who's there? How did you get into this house?
Hi.
Yes, we have
knock,
our very
knock.
first guest on who showed herself in, but that's okay. Sarah, welcome to the podcast.
Hi, it's great to be here.
Yeah, it's great to have you. Now, what do the people know you as, though?
So, most people on Twitter probably know me better as SunGlassPri, Princess Firebird. I run the Capes and Cool Scarves blog for the past year, where I've been talking about Kamen Rider and Garo and Ultraman, lots of Ultraman recently, and various other things. So, hi, my lovely audience of readers out there, all 5 of you.
Hey, 5 more than we've got. And you've also recently joined another group, have you not?
Yes, I am now a contributor for the Tokusatsu Network, where I am doing my weekly Kamen Rider build recaps over there now.
That's awesome.
That's the crowd
so
going
cool.
wild. That's really great.
Yes, you know, so much publicity, celebrity. I have the paparazzi mobbing me every time I try to leave the house.
Please just let me live my life.
It's such a hassle.
I hate it when you review the weekly build episodes and you can't go out of the house in your sweats. Just you gotta put on the makeup and everything and do the whole thing. It's put on the production for the people.
Yeah, tragedy of being rich and famous.
The sweet toku money. That's what we're also writing in. Sweet toku money. Anyway.
No, but seriously, we all do this because we love it. I mean, that's why I've stuck with this through having a full-time job and just writing in the evenings when I get home. It's just, I really love talking about this stuff. So I'm really happy to be on a podcast where you guys appreciate it too.
That's what it's all about. Like, it's such a niche thing that I feel like is getting a little bit bigger and a little bit bigger. And I don't know if we're riding a wave or anything, but it's really exciting that everybody's like here to talk about it and enjoy it, right?
Oh, definitely.
I think there's probably a whole other podcast to have to discuss why this other sort of oeuvre of superheroes is both familiar and exciting at the same time. But Sarah, why don't you tell us a little bit about kind of like your background with tokusatsu as an institution, as a genre?
Well, there's a few different ways that I've seen people get into toku. I have several real-life friends who are super into Ultraman and Godzilla movies because they like the giant daikaiju monster films, and they like that sort of B-movie flick sci-fi feel, so they like a lot of the classic toku stuff because of that. I also know people who got into it through just love of Japanese culture in general. And since toku is such a huge part of pop culture in Japan, you have to come across Kamen Rider or Super Sentai eventually. And people got into watching those shows through connections with other Japanese media. I got into it through a little bit of a different way. I got into it because I really freaking love superheroes. I'm a giant, before I was a toku fan, I was a giant comic book fan. So when I was watching, this would have been in 2015, so almost exactly like 3 years before this point, I was really, really into a lot of the live action stuff that Marvel and DC were doing on TV. Like The Flash was just having its first season. Arrow was pretty strong at that point. There was the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., which had just come on. And when I was watching these shows and discussing them on a couple forums, people were like, oh, hey, this is a lot like Kamen Rider, especially since with The Flash, since Drive was airing at the same time, and there was a lot of similarities between those two shows. And then when one of the shows went on a hiatus, I said, hey, this Kamen Rider thing looks kind of cool. Where should I start watching? And they said, you should watch Kuga. So I watched Kuga, and here I am.
Oh man, you started there. That's great.
Yeah, and I just found myself going through a lot of different seasons, checking out recommendations, and just slowly working my way through a lot of them and finding it really interesting. And that's what kept me going through it. It's just there's so much material to plow through. I never really felt like I was bored or burnt out from it, because if I didn't like Rider season, I just move on to try a Sentai, and then I tried Ultraman when Ultraman X came to Crunchyroll simulcast.
Yep.
So I just kind of tried a little bit of everything and found myself enjoying all of it. So here I am.
Here you are. Just for my curiosity, what Rider seasons have you seen?
I have seen most of the Heisei era series. The only ones I've not seen, I've not finished Ryuki or Kabuto yet. I haven't finished Hibiki yet. I really have zero desire to see Kiva. I'm sorry. It was hard enough for me to get through Fives. I do not want to repeat that again. But I've seen everything that has come after Decade. So that's all the Rider series from the Heisei area. I've seen V3, Stronger, Amazon, Sky Rider, and I'm currently working on Black for the Showa era series.
Excellent.
Nice. That's really great, and it's great to sort of like my own journey is somewhat similar in terms of the shortness of it. I only really started in 2016 myself, like seriously watching Toku, when I just happened to discover one night that wait a minute, you can just watch Ultraman on Hulu. It's just sitting there, like you can just watch it right now. Like after years of trying to get it, so I haven't quite consumed quite that much, but it's awesome. Just the passion's still there, you know, and that it even though still relatively new fans, and yet there's so much to dive into. It's almost like there's more opportunity just because you're like, oh wow, look at all this stuff I can watch, and I can watch from here and there and all these different flavors. It's great.
It's also interesting because I feel like everybody brings their own unique background to it, so people tend to see the same series in very, very different ways. So that's always interesting to hear from different people who maybe have been in the fandom for much longer, or for people who are even newer and have different starting points than I did.
So I gotta ask, favorite Ultraman? But I think I already know, but I just want to hear you say it.
Well,
anyway.
yeah, because it's the one that I constantly yell at people on Twitter to watch all the time. It's Mebius.
Yeah.
Although, to be perfectly fair, I just finished Gaia last year, like around November, I think is when I finished that, and that's a very, very close second, but it's still Mebius for my favorite.
Gaia has such a great design.
Adding that to the list.
Yes, everybody, this goes for the viewers at home. Watch Ultraman Mebius. Do it.
Yeah, Mebius is very well regarded. Very, very well regarded. All right, well,
I think foolishly I'd seen like the first 5 minutes of it, and I got distracted or something happened, and I don't really have any excuse, but
for shame,
go back and go into that. I think after I catch up with Jeed and Nexus, like once
both of those are very, very good. Have you seen Ultraman series before? Both of those are very good, but it's interesting to see Nexus used as an entry point.
Jeed's the one I've seen the most of. I've seen
Jeed
some of Orb, and
Orb is good?
I would say that I've seen maybe like 15. I stopped at the recap episode of Jeed, and then I just haven't gone back yet.
Yeah.
And I've seen maybe like 2 or 3 of Nexus.
Okay.
And then 2 of Orb.
Nexus is very, very good, but it's a decidedly different tone from the rest of the franchise, so I don't see it often recommended as a new series. You can totally watch it for your first series, though. I guess to compare it to something you guys may be a little bit more familiar with, I guess I'd compare it to Kuga in terms of tone and presentation.
Uh-oh. Okay.
If that tells you what to expect from it.
High quality, but also I'll really feel sad like for a while afterwards.
Yeah, that's Nexus.
Okay.
One day,
sounds good.
When you're older,
Oh boy,
I'll let you watch Ultra 7, but for now I keep it in the lock cabinet. But one day,
Oh, no.
when you're big enough, because 7. So we are here to talk about Lupin Ranger versus Pata Ranger, episode 3.
Yes.
How's everybody feeling about the show so far? We've finished the first 2. We're going in. I mean, obviously the opening 2-parter's done. I mean, what's kind of the general room feeling on the show so far?
For as much as I enjoy Kamen Rider and Ultraman and a few others, a few other Toku franchises, I am not that big of a fan of Sentai in general. I've only seen maybe half a dozen seasons of it total, like to completion. And it's interesting, and some of those seasons are very, very good, and I enjoyed them a lot, but I don't find myself getting excited for it generally the same way I do with Rider and Ultraman. But I was really, really impressed with the first 2 episodes from this season, because 2 of my absolute favorite things are A, heist flicks, and B, cop procedurals. So this is totally 100% my jam.
Fantastic. Yeah, you get both.
Yeah, I'm definitely. Even though I'm more on the Venn diagram, I'm definitely in the Ultraman Sentai overlap much more than anything else. I'm also enjoying this just because big team right from the start, and we get 2 teams. Like I love that, the dynamic and all that kind of stuff. So especially them sort of being played against each other. I'm loving this so far.
I would say that having gotten a taste of Q Ranger last season, and not really following a whole lot besides maybe Gokaiger and Shinkenger prior to that. Of course, Die Ranger. This
Whoa.
I think
Whoa.
it seems like a push to do really weird and interesting things this time, right? Because last year they did the whole big old team, and this time it's 2 teams against each other.
Mm-hmm.
has gotten my interest right away, and just like everything has just looked so good. Like,
oh yeah, that's definitely my biggest positive for this is just the presentation so stylish.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I've been just bothering people that aren't into Toku at all because I'm watching Tokyo now just because I need more Sentai in my blood.
Yes.
And I just been I'm like, hey, check this out, and they're like, I guess that's kind of cool. I don't really know what to expect. And I'm like, okay, well, check this out, and I show like the Lupin Rangers first henshin, and they're like, okay, yeah, that was dope. Like, you know, like they were,
I'm doing
they
little
weren't
tiny.
really feeling.
I'm doing little tiny fist bumps right now because Takuja is my favorite Sentai season.
Oh, is it? Well,
It's really good.
you can check out my reaction thread and judge my feelings on it so far. I haven't done a whole lot of cosplay, but like it's making me want to do. I want to do Takachi's, maybe dress up as Takachi. We'll see. But yeah, this has been fantastic, and I'm excited to see another one.
So how do we feel like prediction wise? I mean, I never watch next episode previews because I'm that weirdo. I always skip that part for my Toku viewing. But what are we kind of feeling like this episode is going to have in store for us?
Well, correct me if I'm wrong, but we haven't gotten the Pat Rangers mecha revealed yet, right?
Correct.
That's right. So that's something we're definitely going to see here because
Not
we have to get the toys
combined.
out as soon as possible. But it seems like they're still trying to do an emphasis on building the characters of the Lupin Rangers. So I expect to see more of a focus on them. Maybe sort of see how the two teams come to work together in order for this to happen, because we still have to do that and yet get the other team's mecha out of the way. So it'll be interesting to see how they balance the two sides.
Yeah, I think that covers it. I don't really know what else to expect. Maybe more of that cool puppet we got to see.
I will tell you right now, I don't like the puppet right now.
Uh-oh.
I find him annoying, so we'll see if my opinion on him changes.
Slander. No, I think probably this will be, if I had to guess, I agree. I think we're coming towards a Pet Ranger mecha combined here at some point, but I feel like it's going to be another little two-parter here, maybe. Like we're going to get the first half, a little bit of the comedy in the restaurant, a little bit of some motivation, and then start leading into a big old robot combination.
That sounds right. That sounds about right. Yeah. I wonder how, just as a pondering, I guess, like, since they have, it seems like that the puppet forms or is a part of the base of it, how we're going to see two of them at once. Like if they're ever going to, at some point I imagine they're going to have both mechas up.
Yeah, no, so it'll be interesting to see how they excuse that, because we know that I forget what his name is now, it's going to drive me nuts, but the puppet, the carrot puppet, is a part of the Lupin collection, correct me if I'm wrong, so
Yes.
It'll be interesting to see, like, maybe if there's a second one that allows them to do the same thing, or if just there'll be an upgrade that allows them to use both mechs at the same time.
Is his name Fantastic Striker? Am I making that up? Is that right?
Good Striker.
Good Striker. There
that's
it is.
It's Good Striker.
Good Striker. Okay. Well, if prior Sentai seasons are any indication, the room in which they pilot things from just gets bigger and bigger. So there's just going to be like 30 people in there. The puppet doesn't have to be in two places at once. You just have an auditorium with the puppet in the middle.
Because then they can have the two of them combined, so they'd be making it at the same time. That's probably what they're going to do then.
Yep.
That's going to be crazy.
It's less of a Doctor Who TARDIS thing where it's bigger on the inside. It's like the room is the goldfish and it expands to fit the size of the team, really. So I think it'll that camera's just keep backing out. We're going to get more and more people in there with the puppet. That's my guess.
Fantastic. We're definitely going to have some one-on-one robot action, though, right?
Yeah, possibly. Probably. It'd be interesting to see if the conflict between the two teams actually breaks out to where they fight each other in the mechs.
Mm-hmm.
So, last week was hold on, where did it start last week? Last week we saw the chase scene between the two teams on their various vehicles, with the Pata Rangers on the ground in their ground vehicles and the Lupin Rangers in the air. Long, extended CG fight chase sequence. We got to see the Lupin Rangers chase down the Fire Shark Kaijin, fight him for a little while. The Pata Rangers showed up mid-fight, and Lupin Rangers like, well, we got what we want, we're out of here. Pata Rangers ended up doing the sort of tri-fusion thing that they didn't quite seem to totally understand what was happening either.
Yeah, it's like that's their version of the team's like bazooka attack is that fusion form.
Right.
That's how I interpret it, at least.
Yeah.
Right. And they also fuse, as opposed to just putting their weapons together and holding it. They also fuse. Then we got... I'm trying to remember what happened after
Oh,
that.
we got the backstory of the Lupin Rangers.
That's right.
Why they're doing it.
With the ice, the
It's a
freezing.
revenge plot.
Yeah. But they're ultimately stealing in order to save the people that have been caught in ice and shattered and all that. And then we got the kind of the big final fight sequence with the Lupin Ranger mecha and the giant combiner and it flying around doing all sorts of machine gunning and acrobatics. And then we got the final scene with the restaurant where Lupin Rangers return to, and they're sort of debriefing, if you will. And the Powder Rangers have just walked in.
Right, so we ended on a cliffhanger.
Yeah.
Dun, dun,
Yes.
dun!
And that's where we're
Perfect.
at.
All right. I think we're just about ready to fire this up.
Cool. Let's do this thing.
この番組は楽しい時を作るグループ PRT とザ・コミックフィンドとご覧のスポンサーの提供でお送りします。
And we're back. I think I'm very happy with how everything's going so far, guys. I don't know about you.
Yeah, that was fun.
Really enjoyed that.
Oh, man. Okay, so from the top, picked up on the cafe scene. Of course, they were just there for lunch. We knew that we were like, there's no way they know already, right? Blue tries to nab Pato Red's gun.
It wasn't Pato Red, it was the green one, Sakia.
Oh, was that?
Yeah.
Okay. All
But
right.
he was trying to grab one of their guns.
Right. They order. They're about to start working on the food, and then the Pato Rangers get a call. They have to run out. They figure Lupin Rangers figure it's crime in progress, probably some kind of kaijin, some kind of gangler. So of course it is. They get out, and there's a bubblegum snail sculpting things with a magic sword.
Welcome
Like,
to
he's just-
Sentai!
Yeah.
He's cutting up statues, turning buildings into statues. And
I mean, as you do.
He makes
As you do.
one of the buildings into a statue that resembles the head boss of the Ganglers. He hits everybody with this like super sticky bubblegum, which is just great.
Yeah.
He bails, jumps into a portal made of the sticky bubblegum, and we get a little bit of the team split up. We get a little bit more about Blue's backstory, like why he's so dang serious. Like he learned to cook to appeal to, or to I don't know, just to be real sweet with his then fiance wife. I'm not sure if they weren't married yet. Which I think she was just trying on dresses or was getting.
Yeah, no, they
stuff
were
ready for the wedding.
engaged.
Yeah. Yeah, he
That's
proposed
right,
to her
yes.
during that scene. Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
right.
because they showed the moment when like he pulls out the ring and is about to propose to her. So
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Totally ungracefully. He's just like, yeah, here it is. He just throws it on the table. Just bam. We're
well,
doing
the,
this,
the
right?
way to his girlfriend's heart is through her stomach, clearly, and not through being, a very suave ladies' man.
No, not at all. Very impatient, very serious dude. And of course, that's taken away from him. And so that's why he's like, has to get revenge. He's about to go off on his own, try to steal the Versus Changers. And Red stops him, tells him, hey, you got to cool it. Cut over to the Pato Rangers where, they're kind of fussing. Red's kind of mad because they got chumped, covered in the bubble gum. They respond to another call. Commander Hilltop tells Green that to give it your all, right? You gotta take this seriously, but it seemed really positive.
Yeah, the quote was something like, if you want to fix something that you did with your work, you have to work more to overcome it, which that's how I interpreted it.
Right.
I think that was good. Excellent. Thank you. The cops show up. It seems like they corner the bubblegum snail, and it turns out it's a trap. He had bubblegum traps in the ceiling or whatever it is, and then they look like fools after their super cool transformation sequence. Right as bubblegum snail gets out, Lupin Rangers get the drop on him. They get a nice little fight. That's when they get their full henshin sequence. Right as things are heating up, the Pato Rangers break out, but then the Lupin Rangers get to try out that fusion thing. They get all ready for it. They're about to pull off their same I don't know what they called it, but it was
Patron Ugo. Yugo, I think is what it is, which Yugo is another way of saying fusion, I know. Because it's a pun they use in Jeed.
That's right.
Yes,
Nice.
that's part of his henshin sequence too.
I was wondering what that meant. Thank you. Excellent. But instead of it being a fusion attack, the Lupin Red makes extra clones of himself, and so all 5 of them go for a big attack that blows up the bubblegum snail. And we get this really cool like Back to the Future flames, like that for all 5 of the attacks.
Yeah.
Right as they are, I think they're about to bail. They mention to Goody or Good Striker that they're gonna take this thing back to Kogure, the butler that's showing them everything, and then Goody shows like some kind of hesitation, like that's kind of creepy, like what's up? And so when he mentions it, Goody just bails and goes straight for the Pata Rangers who have escaped. And that's when the right-hand wife, I don't remember the relationship, but one of the generals of the Ganglers shows up, revives the bubblegum snail as a kaiju, and then we finally get to see Pato Kaiser in action. And Pato Kaiser looks awesome. We get like a really cool a sequence where we actually do get to see
they have like a
suit.
full-blown like John Woo running gun sequence in between buildings.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Meanwhile, the statue of the Gangler boss gets destroyed while they watch, and we get like a really nice comedic bit there where they they feel the weight of that loss. After the statue gets busted up, Bubblegum Snail gets beaten by Pato Kaiser's Super Hisatsu. We go back to the cafe where the Lupin Rangers are hanging out and they're talking to Kogure about Good Striker.
Mm-hmm.
But right as the Pato Rangers show up to get the lunch that they missed out on, Kogure just disappears.
Yeah, and he also mentions about Good Striker. He says that it's a piece that's always been hard to handle or something like that. And then they speculate about whether the Pat Rangers had him first, or was he with the collection, or did he go missing with the collection too? So there's a little bit of a question of like where Good Striker's, I don't want to say allegiances, but like where his personal motivations are.
Mm-hmm. We get a nice little moment where Lupin Blue has sort of come around on Lupin Red's philosophy to sort of wait and see, or not just go charging into things. And he's like, okay, we'll do it. We'll do it your way. But maybe we could, maybe if we put laxatives in their food, that we could steal their versus changers. But turns out he's having a little joke, right?
It wasn't a joke.
Yeah, it was not a joke. We all know that. You know that. I know that. The American people know that. That was not a joke.
Not a joke. But yeah, another great episode. They're keeping it up for me.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So likes, dislikes, right?
I really enjoyed the episode overall. I think we now that it felt like a bit of a loosening, if you will. Just the episode felt a little. I don't want to say it felt like it was still tight and well done, but it just felt like everybody kind of. Like it didn't feel like they had to set anything up. We were just sort of having fun with the characters, a little bit more comedy, a little bit more backstory. We'd gone through, even though we had 2 episodes to do the intro, we still had a lot to cover, a lot of exposition to deliver. This was more character. I really enjoyed just kind of the whole thing, but definitely one of the big standouts for me was the fact that for the most part, the Pata Ranger Kaiser was the suit, and we saw mostly in suit form and not CG, because with the Lupin Ranger one, it was a lot of CG flying around in the night sky shooting, and that's cool and all, but I want my suits, I want my practical effects, and that's what I got.
I really, really liked the sense of humor in this episode, because there's just a lot of just funny points in how they were setting up. Like, they're very visual, physical gags, because this is Sentai. That's what they tend to do. It's not like this is very sophisticated, highbrow humor here. But it's effective humor at the same time. So when you see, like, all the Pat Rangers, like, stuck to the wall with this bubblegum slime and stuff, they do, like, funny little pratfalls with that. I did not like Good Striker in the first couple episodes. I thought he was kind of annoying. So seeing him just fly off when confronted with that question about Kogure and go to the Pat Rangers and how he interacted with them was really, really funny. How they reacted to, I keep forgetting the red Lupin Red's name. It's good.
I didn't know
Whatever,
there was
him
gonna be a test.
splitting into 3 parts. That reaction was really funny.
Yeah.
And there was one part in there where during the shootout between Patron Kaiser and the Monster of the Week, where they destroy the statue he made of the Gangler boss, and just the awkward silence as they're watching that on screen as like his finger gets blown to bits, and they're like, "Well, I guess the feet are still there." I was dying laughing. You guys can attest to that.
that was a perfect bit of comedy there.
Yeah,
I think.
the humor is just really, really good because it's simple, but it's really effective. So I appreciate seeing how they can do that continually every week. That's probably the main point. I guess if I'm trying to think of a downside to it, you know what? There was a downside that I had that I was thinking of, but I can't remember what it is now. So somebody else go and talk while I'm thinking about it.
Sure. I will say that I really liked that we didn't just get, like, we were expecting a fusion attack out of it. You know, we were ready for it. Like, okay, we'll just see what they look like fused. And they kind of set you up for it visually with, like, the highlights on the suit. But then all of a sudden he splits into three reds, and we get like, oh, okay, I guess they're just doing a different thing. And I think you pointed out, Sarah, that it was sort of how selfish they are, and they're not really united in their effort. That they
It's
just
not
made
really
more.
selfish. It's just that they all have very personal motivations for doing what they're doing that happen to align. So instead of being motivated by like external things like the Pat Rangers are, where they're like devoted to their duty and their responsibility and trying to protect the civilians, the Lupin Rangers motivations are very personal and self-centered, like not necessarily selfish, but self-centered. So instead of like bringing all 3 of them together, it takes the one person who uses them and splits them into 3 parts, which I thought was kind of cool.
Yeah, that was great. And then the actual attack looked fantastic.
Oh my gosh, it's so
So
cool.
good. So
A
good.
great use of the practical and the special effects in that moment.
Yeah, there's like, well, because the special CGI effects are obviously with doing the explosion, but at the same time you got like the capes flying back and little pieces flying from the explosions in practical space. It was really cool.
Yeah, they really sold it. Like, really sold it in that moment.
I also like that the although it's not really a fusion attack, I guess it's more of a diffusion attack for the Lupin Rangers.
Ooh.
But I like that they also were confused by it. Like, no one seems to understand how any of their stuff works. So I like how that kind of plays into the theme of like, you're kind of like, well, how can both teams have the same gear and not understand it? Because they really no one understands what they're doing at this point. Everyone's like, well, what's happening?
No, the person that probably knows the most is probably either Kogure or Good Striker.
Well, then what about Hilltop for the Pat Rangers? Because like they got, because in the first episode he said like, oh, we got the new toys we've been expecting. He just walks in with a briefcase for them. Like, where did that briefcase come from?
Yeah, although I think if anyone's evil in the Pat Ranger office, it's probably Jim Carter. I think
It's totally Jim Carter.
that Jim Carter is like one of those robots that, like, when like a car company makes like a robot that can play the violin or climb the stairs, and you're like, that's going to choke somebody to death at some point. That's just
so basically what you're saying is they
Deep in
were
the
from
uncanny
Boston
valley.
Dynamics.
yeah, definitely like
Oh,
that. Like, hey,
jeez.
we made a robot that should just be able to jump things, but you know it's going to kill you in the next 10 years. Like, you just know it's in that uncanny valley, and it just shouldn't be.
War has changed.
I remembered what I was going to say about the one thing I didn't like. Because they're doing 2 different teams, you can't have a single character focus episode because they try to do a focus episode for 2 different characters. They do one for Lupin Blue, Toma, and they do one for Patron Nigo. I think he's the green one, Sakia. Both of them try to do like a little mini character arc, but Sakia's just feels kind of like tacked on because the main focus of the episode is the Lupin Rangers still and how they're addressing this conflict and their motivations for trying to fight for the pieces of the collection.
That's
so
true.
it's like literally 2 lines of development. It's like, oh, I have the confidence to overcome this problem now. And it's still good. It's still effective. I still like the Pat Rangers a lot, but it feels like that should have been something that we should have seen over an entire episode to himself.
Yeah,
That's
that's true.
true.
That's true.
Yeah.
Oh, speaking on Green, you got me thinking about it again. Speaking of one of the great character moments, I think we almost get more. It feels like we get more character for the Lupin Rangers out of the suits and more character for the Bat Rangers in the suits, especially in this episode with all the physical comedy. But I loved.
Oh yeah, no, I can definitely see that. Yeah.
Pat Ranger Pink is clearly the most competent of the 3 by far. And there's a part when they're fighting the Lupin Rangers, and she disarms one of them with like an ankle move, like both her ankles, she like kicks up in the air
Oh,
and
yeah,
throws,
that was neat.
throws the gun, and Pat Ranger Green he's like stuck on the ground on his feet, and he like reaches up to try to grab it, and that's when he falls on his back and gets his back stuck to the ground, and then he's just like, this is where I am now. He's not only has he failed, his like failure is preserved, like just for everybody.
Oh
I
yeah,
love it.
and then we can't let that last bit of it go where when they get trapped in the second encounter with Bubblegum Snail. We get a little bit. Everybody gets a little bit more of Pato. I'm just gonna say Pato Red than we were expecting. And
Keiichi gets to show off what his mama gave him.
I mean,
oh yeah, yep.
That's what you're here for. You get it. I mean, you get. You can go back for seconds.
He works
it's
it.
Plenty.
I would have just loved to see the script notes for that scene, like suit acting direction, shake your rear end while it sticks in the air.
It just says
I'm pretty sure it just says twerk, twerk, twerk on there.
That's the third team
Maybe.
they introduce around episode 17. Twerk Rangers. They show up. It's just a whole new ball game when they're here.
Wouldn't that be nuts? Like the title changes and everything. That's too much. There's no way. Maybe.
Who knows?
Although that would be. I mean, maybe I don't know. I'm just sort of goofing around here, but I mean, normally we get like a 6th Ranger or additional Rangers that show up. What if we just got like a whole third other team?
That would be so cool.
So
that's your prediction for the future.
You know
That
what?
would be actually kind of neat. Instead of getting a single, like, 6th Ranger, I guess in this case it'd be a 7th Ranger. We
Right.
just get a whole third team. That'd be neat.
I mean, 9 is not the max that Sentai's gone, so rather than introduce a single character, introduce another Trinity.
That'd be cool.
It's an
I
idea.
wasn't even thinking that could happen until now.
I wasn't
Yeah,
either
me
until I
neither.
made
Now
the...
my hopes are now my expectations are really high, and it's your fault.
Sorry.
I think.
Well, I mean, I didn't think about it either until we started making the Twerk Ranger jokes, so here we
All
are.
right. Fantastic. Any other sort of downsides to this one?
That's really the only thing that struck me. Other than that, it was a really good episode. It was funny. It was stylish. It's everything that we've come to enjoy from this series so far.
I do have a bit of a minor one. Just that while I really enjoyed... I mean, I love this episode. This was really good. And I thought Bubblegum Snail was a really fun and weird... One of those sort of like... I wouldn't say he's iconic, certainly, but he's, I think, very endemic of what I love about Toku monster design and kaiju design in general. You're just like, okay, wait, what? Like, what's going on here? You know.
Oh yeah, that was something I forgot to mention when we were watching the episode. I mentioned that the monster designs here remind me a lot of Abba Ranger, and I can't remember the name of those monsters from there, but they did like an animal, vegetable, mineral theme where all of the monsters are just this crazy mishmash of 3 completely unrelated things. Like you'd have a plant and a crocodile and a telephone, and they'd all be in one monster. And you could tell like the individual parts of it, but stuck together, it just looked wild. And that's what these designs remind me a lot of. You can tell like the individual parts that make them up, but it's just a completely random collection that makes them together.
Or I thought of that episode of Zoo Ranger where I can only think of them as Squat and Babu, but they try their hand at making a monster, and it's the turtle with the street light and the cannon.
Oh, yeah, I know exactly which one you're talking about.
But I guess if I had a complaint, even though I loved everything about it, like we actually got to see the Kaiser suit, it wasn't CG, the statue joke was hilarious with the cutaway to the mafia mobster. I didn't necessarily like how the fight went for Bubblegum Snail. I mean, I expect Sentai Beast to get defeated pretty quickly these days, but he just kind of stopped being interesting. He just started shooting his gun for a while. He didn't really do his sculpting thing anymore, and I thought that was kind of a letdown a little bit. But we got some good shots, and we got some fun stuff with it, but he's just kind of like, I'm just going to shoot my handgun now, which I thought was kind of a bit of a disappointment, given how interesting the sculpting power was and how sort of wily he'd been earlier in the episode.
I agree. Yeah, he didn't. It occurred to me that because I kept forgetting, like, okay, so what does he do, right? Like, I kept having to bring it up, like, so what's his deal? Like, Fire Shark was obvious because he's blasting fire all the time and he's setting things on fire.
Well, because the piece of the collection that he had was the sculpture part of it. That's what he was using to create the statue at the beginning of the episode. But the bubblegum thing, I guess they felt that they couldn't do it with the full-size mecha suits. Then so that's why he didn't do that gimmick in the fight. But it would have been interesting to see him, like, make more statues out of buildings or something to utilize that in the fight rather than just, like you say, pull out a gun.
Yeah. Yeah, and he didn't even really, like, when he was bigger, he didn't use the bubblegum on the city, right?
No, he didn't.
No, because he made the sculpture before, didn't he?
Yeah.
That was like one of the first
that
things
was the beginning of the episode.
Yeah. So he just kind of whatever. Yeah. I guess so.
That was a bit
That's
of a
good
letdown.
point.
But other than
it.
that, I mean, I really don't have a lot of complaints. I enjoyed this one a lot. For if this is what we can expect from a standard episode, quote unquote, I'm all in. I'm loving it.
Yeah, pretty much all the complaints that we had are all just nitpicks.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's fair. What's things we notice, right? Did we cover sort of what really stuck out to us? Because we hit it in our likes and dislikes. Anything else that you'd like to mention?
I guess just to sort of wrap this up, there's so much detail that goes into a lot of the different parts here, like character development and dialogue and interaction and just the general suit designs and everything. This show seems like it'd be really, really fun to go back through and a rewatch once it's finished. So I'm kind of looking forward to that, weirdly enough.
No, most definitely.
Yeah, I'm definitely gonna make some non-Toku fans sit down and watch this. Like, I don't want anything for my birthday. You're just gonna sit here and watch 50 episodes of something with me.
Oh, there's people I want to do with that in real life.
That's the way to go. That's the thing to do.
Alrighty. So, are we ready for predictions for next week?
Yeah, let's do it.
None of us have any idea what.
Okay,
to
who wants to
expect,
start? I guess I can.
Go for it.
Sure.
Can we finally get like a Pat Ranger centered episode? Because these have all been on the Lupin Rangers.
Yeah.
And so we've sort of gotten them to a point where they're not working with the Pat Rangers, but they're not actively trying to antagonize them. They're just like using them from the side. They're seeing them as another resource to get the Lupin collection pieces. So I really want to see like something more specific on how the Pat Rangers are developing and how they're dealing with this conflict and how they see the Lupin Rangers. So I really want to see that next week.
I guess maybe a little bit more on what the heck Kogure is up to, but that feels like that would go against what you're asking for here, because then it's like a little bit. You know what? No, I'm gonna lean into what you were saying, and I want to get some more. I want to get some more Commander Hilltop. I want to know what Jim Carter's up to.
Yeah, because there was the question that we said, like, where the heck did that briefcase come from that had the versus changers in the first place? So kind of a little bit more development on how the department got those pieces and what, like, if they have some sort of benefactor or supervisor that is directing this.
It's Toei. Toei's doing it. Toei and Bandai. Got some new toys for you.
The shocking
toys money on.
I definitely would like to see. I mean, now that we've very clearly established that Pat Ranger Pink is the capable one in the group, I want to see her story quite a bit. Actually, especially with her frustration at the end of this episode, with being like, everyone I work with is bad at doing their jobs. So,
yeah.
Especially since they played up the comedy aspect of the team this week, I'd like to maybe lean into that if we get a Pat Ranger episode, like see her sort of, go through what her frustrations are working on a team that's got two kind of bubbling goofballs and all that sort of thing. I'd like to see that.
I think we are all agreed that we just want more Pato Ranger at this point, and I think that's excellent.
Give me more of the cops.
Yeah.
I want more defenders of justice. Let's go.
Yeah, I mean, there's about 2/3 of this team is pretty Ultraman heavy, and you know what they say about Ultraman fans. So the rumors on the timeline about
Ultraman fans
cops.
are all good people. Remember that.
That's true. Quality folk. So we're ready for some Twitter questions, gang?
Let's do it.
Yeah,
it's time
bring
for
'em on.
Senpai Noticed You.
All right. Senpai's gonna notice. It's not the actual song. I'm just...
Yeah, we'll have a jingle at some point.
So from Rufus2K2, whoa, that's one awesome guest. We agree. They thank us for answering the question last time, and then ask, what's either your favorite tokusatsu song or the first one in your current playlist? For me, it's Kamen Rider Double's Excel theme, Leave All Behind. It never fails to pump me up.
That's a really, really hard question.
That's a big one. That's a real
You have
big
to
one.
first thing that comes to mind. You can't spend 5 minutes on this.
Well, what I'm currently listening to, because I just finished watching Ultraman Ginga and Ginga S a couple weeks back, is Eiyu no Uta, which is the main theme song for Ginga S. and it is phenomenal. There's like a bit in the chorus that just like the scream, like, and that I constantly find myself like yelling along to whenever it comes up on my playlist. And I apologize to everyone who lives in my apartment building for hearing that repeatedly. But that's what I have to name just because that's what I'm listening to constantly at the moment. Other than that, I mean, my icon on Twitter is Taja Dor for a good reason, because I never get tired of that song either. Time Judge Doll.
Taja Dor's
what can I say? I like ominous German chanting. Sue me.
Smash cut to us having legal proceedings. Like, she enjoys ominous German chanting. Every penny she's got.
Oh, dear.
Pat, do you have one, or should I step up?
Jeez, yeah, no, I got one, and it's got to be like, it's got to be the Ryuki theme for me. Like, I'm sorry, I'm scum, and I don't like learn all the themes and within the episodes, like I should. But it tends to be on a binge, and then I watch the theme song every time. So, the one that, like, if I think of a Kamen Rider theme song, just the way that Ryuki sounds just hits me just right. Like, I get the visuals in my head. I don't even have to think very hard. All the mirror stuff that's going on. That one, and I guess it's tied with Blade's second theme, because it's just...
I love Elements. That's such a good song.
It's so good.
And I'm the weird person that actually likes Blade's first OP a lot too, but the second one just blows it out of the water. It's so good.
It's true. Yeah. I mean, I like Blade a lot. Blade is so good.
Oh yeah, no, it's one of my top 5 Rider seasons.
I think maybe we should... Well, no. Okay.
I'm
do we have any more?
I'm glad you and you worked that out. No.
Well, I used the fusion. I used the Good Striker, and I had to have a conversation with myself before we did this.
In terms of fave tokusatsu songs, see, people keep hitting us with this, and I love these questions, but like, guys, I can't pick. Don't make me pick between my children. Like, I love all my babies equally, but I'll tell you what I'm listening to a lot right now. Maybe it's because I'm subconsciously wanting more Power Ranger, but I've been listening to the Deca Ranger theme a lot, because that opening guitar riff is just so strong. Oh my god, it's so good. And a lot of Kamen Rider Stronger, because I just love the way that Stronger, and then the brass cuts in every time. I'm a sucker for it, and I love.
Yeah, that's definitely one of the best Showa era themes from Rider.
Yeah, and it's just a great suit. It's just great watching him run around. Yeah, I love it. So those are the two I'm playing a lot of right now, but it's pretty much all. I have work playlists and workout playlists that are just all Sentai and Kamen Rider and Ultraman OPs, so yeah, I enjoy them all. Okay, so the next one comes to us from... this is from John Smith, buddy of mine. If you were to form a Ranger squad, what would its name be, and who would be a part of it? Oof, that's a...
Uh-oh.
That's a big one,
I feel like we should have gotten this one before. This is like... We had a few drafts of this one.
Wow, that's tough.
Yeah.
Because I'm not sure whether to name people on Twitter, which will certainly make some enemies, or name people in real life who you will not know who they are.
Yeah.
Can I say like a theme, like a general theme?
Let's just stick to a theme. Let's just stick to what would your Ranger team theme be?
Okay.
Let's make it that, because that's a smaller question.
Yeah.
Is it?
First thing I'd think of is like I'd really like to see something like a musical related theme, like maybe I think that's been done in classic ones before. I don't know how much, because I'm not very familiar with older Sentai, but something like, I don't want to say like Hibiki, but sort of how like their weapons were all musical related and they use like sound attacks and stuff like that. I'd like to see that for a Sentai team in the modern era. I don't know what I'd call it though.
I like that though.
You're gonna think about that one. Get back to us next week.
Yeah.
Their fusion attack. Their fusion attack could be like a one-man band with like the big drum and the cymbals for the knees and the harmonica.
It'd be like a giant orchestral hit.
I think you need to watch the Hibiki episodes of Decade. Is what you need to watch.
I have seen those. I've seen Decade.
I mean Grant needs to see that.
Oh, yes, you do.
I do. I have so much to see. So much.
That one, I take it back. I'm changing my music to that song that they play, because
it's so really cool. Good.
It's really good. For a band that really just got together for one thing, it's pretty great. In terms of a theme, shoot. This doesn't work. This doesn't work because I'm just obsessed with Toku and I don't think about other things besides. And then if I turn it into something, it's just gonna end up being a Kiba Ranger, I think. Which collecting toys. Food, I guess. I do enjoy cooking, so I don't know that they've done like a food theme. That'd be really fun.
Oh my god, Iron Chef.
Yeah, it would be
Sentai.
Interesting. Like
Iron Chef
wait,
Sentai.
I'm trying to think with the different weapons would be, I guess, different utensils or something.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now I'm just thinking of the last Precure season.
All their weapons.
where all the cures were different desserts.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, okay, that's it then. I want
Yeah.
a food one, and they're all like maybe different approaches to cooking or something. Because
I'm seeing their mecha like cook the kaijin up on like a hibachi, just like doing it
Oh
for
no,
the people.
it'd be like the chef attack from Kirby, where like you just put all the enemies on the screen into a pot, and, like add salt.
there it is.
Kirby's kind of a cannibal. I love him, sweet little
Excellent.
guy. For me, for a theme, that's a bit of a toughie.
It'd be called Shoku Ranger. Shoku Ranger. Just...
I guess I don't know what my team would be, but I guess if I could pick a team that I haven't seen that would, I think, be a lot of fun, maybe like different kinds of science, like not just science in like the general sense, but you could have like an archaeologist and like a chemist and like different
that is neat.
like and like a biologist, and they could have like each of them could have like different implements, and you could do like lots of exploration and stuff like that. And then you could have like all the enemies would be more magical, like alchemists and stuff, or like fortune tellers, like people that don't have a scientific worldview. I think it'd be kind of a fun dynamic to sort of flip the science and magic thing a little bit.
That sounds really fun. I want to see this one too. I want to see all of these.
Why don't we just mix our three ideas?
I hope you're listening, Toei. Thanks for tuning in, Toei.
Make the checks out too.
Yeah, I will be delighted and also really mad if these seasons get made next and you don't see any.
Now we can sue Toei for a DMCA takedown and like them, putting strikes against videos and stuff.
Boom.
And who's the fan subgroup now? Toei whipping into their hands. Take them away. No, seriously though, hire me, Toei. I'm right here. So good buddy Joey Weiser from the Toei Yaropod asks, do we all agree that Lupin's butler is an evil mastermind? That dude is bad news, right?
Literally the first thing I thought of when I saw the first episode was, this is Wizard. Actually it was the second episode when we learned the Lupin Rangers backstory about how all their friends and family got frozen and then destroyed, and he's like, ooh, collect all these pieces for my master and I'll give you a wish. I was like, this is Wizard. This is exactly how Kamen Rider Wizard started out. So
a bit cooler, just a little bit cooler than Wizard.
Oh, Wizard's not bad. It started off interesting at least, but just that setup, the deal that he made the Lupin Rangers reminded me a lot of how that show started up.
Yeah. Yeah, all right, fine. I keep having to do this. I'm just trying to throw shade at these things, and you guys keep going like, no, it's fine. It's good. I'm like, okay. I'll take it. What would you say, Grant?
I mean, the butler done it is definitely a trope. He's appearing and disappearing like Batman. Like, he doesn't seem like a good guy. I don't know if he's bad news yet. They could be playing a bait and switch with us, but I don't know if it's not all in the up and up. It's a little too convenient.
He definitely has ulterior motives at the very least.
Yeah, I think
That's
we
true.
agree.
Yeah, and it's not even like a facade. Even actually from the start, he's been kind of curt with Red.
Yeah,
right?
I think there's a line in the first episode where he's like, I forget what the exact wording was, but it's something like, don't ask more questions than you need to, or something like that.
Yeah. So maybe, I don't know, maybe it is a bait and switch in that we're like suspicious. We're supposed to be suspicious of him or something, but it's actually like, no, he's just trying to do his job, and these guys are just going to get in the way if they get ahead of things, maybe. Like, I don't know.
No, it's a possibility.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. But definitely something to keep an eye on, right?
Yeah, most definitely. Okay, so we have another one from Buddy Behalite Bebop that we did not answer last week. your top 5 Sentai mecha.
Uh-oh.
I don't watch enough Sentai, and I don't remember that specific mecha from them.
Just tell.
Like, I don't remember the names or anything from them, so.
Yeah, that's a problem. I'm gonna go with Daireno, because we just keep talking about Dairanger.
Yeah, look, you can't go wrong with Daireno.
Can't go wrong. It was great. I actually, you know what? I can be serious about it, though, because, like, I love how it's, like, a smaller one that puts on the rest of it. Like, that's really cool to me. I think Kakuranger, they all had humanoid shapes that kind of folded into giant mecha, I think. I'm not sure if that's right.
I'm trying to remember. Right. I know the Kakuranger had the like the one that was like the wolf and the bear and all that. That was one of them. I'm trying to remember what the other one was.
And then I'm enjoying Tokyuger's Tokyuo, I guess. I don't know what his name is.
Yeah.
The Diesel O, I remember from Tokyuger. I really, really like that design. And you probably haven't gotten there yet, but there's actually a villain mech design that's really cool.
Okay.
It's got sort of like a gothic style to it, like and I forget what it's called now, but you probably haven't seen it yet. But it's one of my favorite designs that I can think of off the top of my head. I guess if I had to name another one from Q Ranger last season, the Orion mech. I forget if that's the specific name for it or whatever. That had like the jet thrusters actually coming out of the head.
Yeah.
I love that. It was so cool.
I gotta see this. I noticed with the Tokyuger that the Tokyo Rangers or Tokyugers, they're all, you know, the sort of the modern train, the bullet train, the express train, right? Versus the forgetting what they're called right now.
The Shadow Line, the bad guys?
Yeah, the Shadow Line. They're all like steam engines or steam, like their controls were all like dials and knobs. And I was like, oh, they're like steampunk monsters. Okay, that's cool. I dig it. So I'm looking forward to seeing what the heck the Dark Line's gonna bring up.
I don't want to hype it up too much, but one of the reasons why Tokyuger is my favorite Sentai is because the villain faction is fascinating, and there's a lot of really cool characters that they develop on that side.
Seems like it. Seems like from what I've seen. I think I'm on like four in, maybe.
Oh, wow. Yeah. You have a long way to go.
The ride has only just begun.
Yeah.
Ain't no stopping this train we're on.
Let's try to keep it on track. Come on, guys.
Oh, jeez. All right. It's much harder to deal with in person.
It is difficult to choose these different mecha, but I'll list a few of my favorites. I really like the Go-Go 5 mecha because it has the ladder arm. I'm a sucker for like emergency response like mecha, just as a general theme. And having a fire engine arm that's like a ladder that you punch with, like that's my jam. I dig that. I really enjoy, obviously, Dairanger from Zyuranger, just because it's a dinosaur god beast thing, and it often is up in the clouds talking to them. It's just wonderful and it's beautiful. I dig the pterodactyl one from Kyoryuger, just because its cape can deflect laser bolts, and that's like, yeah, like the fleshy parts of the pterodactyl wings is its cape, and it can like deflect blasts and stuff. I'm about that. I dig that quite a bit. Trying to think of some other ones that I really enjoy. I mean, you know, it's one of those things where I seldom meet a mecha that I don't like.
That's fair.
I'm trying to think of some other ones that maybe jump out. I don't know. I like them all. It's a cop-out answer, but I really like robots. It's part of the joy of Sentai for me.
Yeah. I think if you didn't, then it's like, what are we doing here? Yeah. Right? What's the point? Do we have any more questions?
We have one more question, and that is from a buddy of mine, Bill. Asks if I wanted to, and we get a lot of this question, so I like to ask it, especially since we have Sarah on too, and she hasn't answered this one before. If I wanted to dip my toes into the waters of tokusatsu, where should I start? I've seen an eepisode or two of Kamen Rider on TV, and like a half an episode of Ultraman, and the OG Power Rangers movie. LOL.
See, because I don't want to plug my blog any more than I did at the beginning of the show, but I actually did put out 2 articles that address this specifically in terms of Kamen Rider and Ultraman, where I lay out a couple not a couple, more than a couple. I lay out several series that I enjoy a lot, why I enjoyed them and why I feel they'd be good entries, or why they give a good overview for sort of the general tone and development of the franchise. So Capes and Cool Scarves is the name of my blog. Both of them are up on that site. It's called So You Want to Watch Kamen Rider and So You Want to Watch Ultraman, because I'm super original when it comes to naming things. Just like really quick off the top of my head for the major franchises, Garo is really, really cool if you're looking for something different and more adult. I don't want to say adult.
It's a bit adult.
Aimed for older audiences. Yes, but when I say like mature, people expect like, ooh, it's dark and gritty, and it is, but we're still talking about a show where the main characters are literally knights in shining armor.
I wear a dog mask and have a sword, but this is a serious show about serious things.
Well, I mean, like, there's bare naked boobs in the first episode, so thanks, Amamiya. You're wonderful. For Ultraman, I always recommend Mebius for reasons. It's amazing, first of all, but it's just a giant love letter to the franchise in general. The classics also have held up really, really well, so I highly recommend the original 1966 series and Ultra 7. I also tend to recommend those a lot because you can buy the DVDs of them fairly easily. Oh, also, the most recent series, X, Orb, and Jeed are also very good entries to the season and on Crunchyroll. So check those out if you need to. Kamen Rider is different because there's a lot of Kamen Rider shows, but they all carry a lot of different genres and everything for them. I mean, I'd have to say Kuga because that's where I started. But the currently airing series, Build, is really, really good, and I highly recommend getting in on that. It's so good. It's why I'm writing about it every week.
Freaking good.
And then, lastly, like I'll end my long-winded explanation here. For some really weird reason, I saw a lot of people get interested in the franchise with X-Aid, where people were like, what the hell are these video game doctors doing on my Twitter timeline? And then they watch like an episode and are instantly hooked. So I apparently X-Aid's a good starting point. Go figure. And X-Aid's actually a pretty good season, so you can't go wrong with that.
I'm gonna second X-Aid because it's really fun, it's really campy, and then once that series takes off, it doesn't stop. Like, it really, whoo boy. Like,
yeah, no, it just kind of continually escalates.
Yeah, I took a break like right before that episode, the Christmas episode, and right as Build was coming around, I was like, oh, you know what? I'll go finish X8. And I was like, why did I stop? Why did I stop right here? Because everything after this has been insane. I watched all of it. I binged it on a plane. Thank goodness. I didn't have anything else to do, and I was distracted. It was perfect.
That's actually why I started my blog, is because I originally was writing about X-Aid, and I figured it's kind of a pain in the butt to do like 25 tweet-long tweet storms talking about the major themes for each episode. I should probably just get a blog, and so I got a blog.
Yeah, I think I have to mute you when the new builds are up because I don't watch them. I don't get to watch them right away. So that's my fault. But
yeah, I try to.
I'm like, ah!
I try to tag all my live tweets with that. So.
Yeah, I would say it's hard being like just trying to enjoy it sometimes because people are posting scans. Like, I love it. I get it. I love it. You know, people get excited about, you know, the scans and toy previews, and, you know, it's really cool to do all the speculation and see like, oh, what's this about? But then like it just shows up on my Twitter sometimes, and I'm like, this is my fault. I'm here, but I didn't want to know about this Kamen Rider showing up yet. Like, dang it. Like, come on. But this is how it is, right?
Yeah. Price of it, I guess. I think my own recommendation for a start point is like, and this evolves over time, and I think we've already talked about this. I'm going to change my answer again, but like, of course, just start somewhere. Like, it's so much of it is disconnected. Like, so much of it is like, like Toku is like just as a broad collection of shows, like just pick a season and go. Like, it assumes that you are new to it too. It assumes you're a 6-year-old who doesn't know what you're about to watch and that you may want to buy some toys. So it's going to give you everything you need to enjoy, and you should tell within a few minutes whether you're going to enjoy something. But also, I guess another recommendation I would have is like, find some people you like who are watching something and watch with them. Like,
oh, absolutely. There's a lot of series that I couldn't get through unless I was watching them alongside someone else.
Like,
because the ability to discuss what's going on and sort of like hype each other up, like, "Ooh, I wonder where this is going," or "I really like this character," or "This character sucks. I hope they get better." That sort of experience with the fandom or with other friends really, really makes it a lot more enjoyable than trying to just plow through everything on your own.
And especially if you connect with more experienced Toku heads, because as they discuss like what's good, what works, what doesn't, like you'll hear them say like, I like this better in this season, or oh, this is kind of like this other season. So like they will sort of naturally start name dropping things, and you'll be like, okay, well, I like this thing they were talking about. I'm gonna go follow up and see that. Like they're gonna impart that knowledge to you. And so whether it doesn't necessarily have to be the newest thing, although the new Ultraman stuff is super good, so you should.
Are they firing up for another new one yet, or is that?
Based on the time frame that we saw last year and the year before, we should be getting at least rumors, like a trying to think of the word, like a patent for the name or a trademark of some kind. We should be getting that soon. But that being said, the Jeed movie premieres, I think, the first or second week of March.
Okay.
So we should be getting like an official announcement around that premiere. So it should be soon here that we'd be hearing about something new.
So whether it's the newest stuff or whether it's just something like you find another group that's doing like a community, like a group watch thing, just connect with the people who are watching it, and I think you'll also just like hearing people talk about why they love it. Like if I've noticed anything else, especially on my timeline or in the Discords that I'm on, because I never shut up about rubber-suited people fighting rubber-suited monsters, the more I talk about it, the more people realize, wait a minute, there must be something to this, and then they watch it, and then they fall in love. So, like, connect with people who love this stuff, too, and watch it with them, and you'll love it, too. Like, it's just...
The other flip side of that is just watch what you're interested in. Like, don't feel like you have to suffer through 50 episodes of something if you're not enjoying it, because there are certain series that people are like, oh, this series is terrible, don't watch it. Or this series isn't as good, or this series is boring. And then I've actually sat down and watched and be like, I actually really enjoyed that. So watch what you enjoy. If you think something looks interesting, if you like the designs, if you think the scenario sounds really interesting, pick it up.
That's a smart approach, I think. Yeah, because you never really know what's actually going to click with you until you actually sit through it, right? Like, don't necessarily be discouraged from something until you yourself feel, this one's not for me. But keep trying, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, like, with considering that this is a genre / medium that's been around for over 50 years at this point, there's a huge ton of material. So if you're not enjoying something, then there's always other material that you probably will enjoy instead. So just try everything you can. If I think all the other advice we've been giving out is good as well. Follow other people's recommendations.
Yeah, most
kind of common sense, I guess.
Plug into, and I think plugging into the community and like seeing and sort of grasping the scope of the material is so important, just because you do kind of have to sort of, I don't want to say adjust your sort of expectations like it's low quality, but like people who come to Toku, like what we're getting from it is something we don't really, like I've often related it to like, what if Batman 66 just became kind of an institution in America? Like what if that style of live action television never really went away? Like it's something that
I never really thought of it before, but that's actually really appropriate.
And it is cheesy and it is corny, but if you watch Batman 66, it's very aware of what it's doing. And it's actually quite hilarious and fun and awesome. So like imagine if that later if it just continued to be a tradition 50 years later and it had great fight scenes, but it was still silly and it still kind of wore its heart on its sleeve. Like we've lost that tradition, I think, at least here in America in terms of like our live action television. Like Flash and Arrow and stuff are tapping into it a little bit, but they're still pretty serious kind of character drama things.
There's some significant differences in how they approach the material, and a lot of that comes from the fact that they're also adapting comic. Well, I get that because some of the original Toku heroes started off as adapting mangas too, but they're approaching it from a different direction because it's like they're trying to be the movies on a smaller scale.
Right.
And that is not how Toku approaches itself at all.
No.
So it's, I don't know, maybe that's a topic for my articles is comparing the two, because like I said, I actually got into Toku because of that comparison to Western superhero shows that were coming out at the time.
But just to be aware that it's not just like, oh, these are American superheroes in Japan. Like it's not that. I mean, it's a close kindred. Like it's still spandex heroes and bright colors and all that, but it's not going to hit the same switches. And so if you come in looking for those same things, I think you're going to be disappointed and not understand what it's about.
the themes in the stories are very, very similar. Like you're going to find the same morals about the proper use of power, responsibility, blah, blah, blah. You know, Uncle Ben's speech. Yeah. You're going to find the same messages in all of the Toku heroes that have survived to this day. That's not going to change. It's the presentation of it. It's the way that they either take themselves seriously or don't take themselves seriously. It's the assumptions that they make about their audience that are completely different, and that's what makes it a different experience.
I mean, it's funny you mentioned Uncle Ben, because Lupin Red had his Peter Parker moment in episode 2. He's like walking past and he's like, I'm not going to help you. Turn around, you get turned to ice. He's like, no. Yeah. Like, he literally has that moment. So they're close, but they're not identical. This is not Spider-Man. But Spider-Man is also Toku, so.
Wow, we like really delved into that question.
Yeah, it was a good one.
Yeah. Was that it for the questions?
I think so. So Sarah, thanks so much for being on. Do you have any other thing? You go ahead and do the round O plugs one more time so people know where to find you. Where can they follow you?
Yeah, so on Twitter, my handle is @SunGlassPri. I go as Princess Firebird as my screen name that I've had for like the past year. And my blog is called Capes and Cool Scarves. That's it, Capes and Cool Scarves. You know, heroic scarves and scarf-related accessories, where I publish stuff talking about Kamen Rider, Ultraman. I have some Garo pieces up there. I even have some pieces actually talking about the superhero comics because I still very much love those. So I try to update those at least once a week, every other week. So please follow me if you're interested in hearing more of my awful opinions and overthinking stuff.
Excellent. Yeah, I'll make sure that we have links to it and everything, you know? Yeah. This is really great.
Cool, thank you.
We should probably do this again sometime.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah, I'm always up for it.
All right. Anything else, Grant?
No, I think that was all. Again, thanks, Sarah, for being on with us. Pat, thanks for being my bud, for sticking through here. We two Rangers, we ride forward. For those of you listening at home, thanks for sending in your questions. We hope you enjoyed Sarah being on as much as we did, because we had a lot of fun both during the recording and while we were just watching the show together. And hopefully we'll have our new guests next week, and we'll hopefully keep this rolling with some more great people, and maybe in the future we can have Sarah back.
I would always be happy to do that. Sounds like it'd be a lot of fun.
All right. We'll see you guys next week.
Take care.
Bye.
Super Sentai Podcast.